You are now about to witness the strength of street knowledge.
What's up, everybody? You are tuned in to another episode of In the Booth with the Poetess. And today I'm so excited because I have a beautiful sister here with me. She is Mayor Asia Brown. She was elected mayor of Compton in 2013. She is the second woman and the youngest to be elected in that seat. Your background is in extensive urban development, and you are currently up for re-election.
Yes.
Next week.
Yes.
And are you excited about that?
I am. It's gone by really fast, and it's definitely a labor of love. And the last 3.5 years have flown. We've been able to get a lot of great things done, and there's still much more work to do. So I'm excited. I'm energized to finish the work. Yeah.
Now, can you pretty much describe what your life was like before becoming mayor of Compton?
Yes, I was like a private person. My husband and I, we have been married. Well, we've been together since 2000, since I was 17, and we went through school. Always worked. Was working for cities and urban development, planning, economic development. And my private life was really family-centered. My husband and I were both youth ministers, so I spent a lot of times with other people's kids and really teaching them, developing them, doing a lot of just teaching, training, and just community work. So I was in the Compton community. We were over the Movie in the Park ministry with our church, Faith Inspirational. So had a great opportunity to meet a lot of awesome people doing great things in Compton. But really, it was totally different than my life now.
I can imagine.
Yes.
So I have to ask you, what made you decide that you can take this on and make a difference?
You know, my husband and I moved back to Compton really after God had touched our hearts to really come back and to serve in the city. So in doing ministry there, and part of our church's mission was to take back the city of Compton. And I had always prayed and just asked God to use me any way that he wanted to use me. And he put it on my heart to run for mayor, and I ran from it for a couple of years. And I'm like, not me. I had all these excuses. I think, we should have, some male leadership. We really need to have good, positive examples of men. I'd always been just really a great behind-the-scenes strategist kind of person. So I tried to get other people to run, and God was like, no, I called you to run. And so I just answered the call, and everything in my life has been really interesting because God will send you to obstacles, but he always puts you in places where you need him. You have to rely on him, and it seems the obstacle can seem unsurmountable or too great, but that's the perfect position for him to really come in, use you, and where you have to rely on him. And so I took this assignment and challenge like all the other assignments and challenges in my life, just one step at a time. Mm-hmm. And God really gave me a vision for what he wanted me to do in the city of Compton, so I've just stuck to the plan.
I love it. Now, you were elected in 2013, and what do you feel are some of your biggest accomplishments since you've been elected in 2013?
I think really just uplifting the city, really having young people be able to look at their mayor and say, I can do that, or I'm proud of my community, I'm proud of my leadership. Also being able to really help change Compton's image in a really positive light. We've seen tremendous investment in the city of Compton since I've become mayor, and we've had new companies moving in. We've welcomed Fortune 500 companies. We've been able to really focus on job growth. When I even sat down with some of the gang members in my community and asked them, what's your biggest challenge to being a constructive force in the city? And they said, we just need jobs. We need a way to take care of our families. And so in 2013, I introduced a local hiring measure. So every single new company that's come to Compton, every new development project, we've had mandatory local hiring, and we've seen our unemployment rate go from 18.5% to 8%. And we're not, I won't be satisfied till we get to the 8%. So we are really gearing up for being able to implement our Measure P program, which I'm really proud about. And for the first time in about 30 years, we have a dedicated source of revenue for repaving all of our streets. So,
oh, wonderful! Because
yes.
I was telling you that I put up a post last night, And I don't recall ever getting as many responses on any single post that I've ever done. But in that post, I asked the people out there what if that I was interviewing you and what question that they had that they have for you. And the major one was the potholes in Compton. I had no idea Compton had so many potholes. So they want to know what's being done about that, and is there an ETA on when the city's going to start fixing those potholes?
Well, absolutely. Well, first, just to kind of give the reason why, the city had not had a dedicated source of money to just maintain, repair, or enhance streets. So in an ideal situation, cities will have a capital improvement program that's funded. And so every single budget year, they put a certain dollar amount to go toward that capital improvement program. So in Compton, we didn't have a capital improvement program at all. So it took us a year to even put together that program. So after we got our capital improvement program done in 2014, we were able to get estimates of what it would cost to bring our streets up to good condition, $75 million.
Oh.
So the day that I took office, we had a $43 million deficit. So as we're paying down our deficit, getting this $75 million bill, we had to come up with additional revenue to fix decades of disrepair.
Because I think I read somewhere that an article about you, or that you did, about the streets hadn't been paved in over 30 years?
Some streets have never been repaved.
Oh, wow.
Many of our major streets have not been repaved in 25, 30 years. And when people can just consider when's the last time they've seen Compton Boulevard repaved, or Long Beach Boulevard, or Rosecrans, or Central and Wilmington. Now, we've just completed Central and Wilmington, the first phases, but those streets hadn't been done in decades. And so we're like 20 years behind schedule with just maintaining. And so over the last 3.5 years, we spent $5 million for residential street repair. So we've repaved about 100 residential streets.
Okay.
We've also done...
That's a start.
It's a start. We've also paved the first half of Central, so that was a $6 million project. We also did the first phase of Wilmington, which is a $3 million project. And so we also received grant funding in the amount of $6 million to repave the entire Compton Boulevard, so from city boundary to city boundary. But now, with our new Measure P funds, we are bringing a spending plan, and I actually proposed this last night at our council meeting to let the residents decide, because there's two schools of thought on the council that we should either use $8 million per year to fix streets. My recommendation is to utilize different spending tools like other cities and get at least $75 million up front today, pay that down over the next 25, 30 years, and get all of our streets done now. When I talk to residents, they want the streets done now. And since we have the money to do it, I think that we should be smart and use our tax dollars in an efficient way. So those are some of the decisions that we're weighing in now. But the best part is we finally have the money to do so.
Okay, wonderful. Okay, now that you are mayor and know the inner dealings, because I'm sure it's a lot different looking at, from the outside looking in than it is than actually being in it. Now, with all the issues that Compton has, of course, it's going to take more than 4 years and maybe even more than 8 years. So how long do you think it will take to bring your vision of Compton into fruition?
I think really we've seen a lot of growth in the areas of new restaurants and businesses coming to the city, but in terms of totally transforming our streets, parks, and lights, I think that's another 5 years at the most. We're at the point to where we already have all of our assessments done, so that's the hardest part, is getting your plans together, getting the costs together, all those estimates, and then the most important part is the money. So now we're at the fun part where we can start rolling things out quickly. What we can see in the next 2 years is all of our major streets repaved. So we're looking at Compton Boulevard. That'll actually be done this year. We wanted to do Rosecrans, Long Beach, as well as some of the circulatory streets like Murr and other streets that are used for vehicular traffic. So the goal is to get those done in the next couple of years, and then really being able to repave all those residential roads. Compton it's 10 square miles, but we have about 180 linear miles of road. So we're looking at major street reconstruction throughout the entire city over the next 3 to 5 years. And then also installing new lighting. We just completed our lighting assessment. So we want to light up the city like a stadium so that all the public areas are really bright and that people can feel safe. And then we have some public safety measures that we're continuing. So I want to be here at least another 4 years to carry those things out.
Well, I think you will be and
Yes.
should be. What do you feel have been some of your biggest lessons in this past 4 years, and how do you plan to implement them in your next 4 as mayor?
You know, I've learned, I think that Compton is a special place for many reasons, but I've learned a lot really fast. And the biggest thing is that you cannot assume that people that are in elected office or that are in positions of influence or power want what's best for the city. Some people are content with just holding position for their own personal gain, and they're willing to sacrifice the greater good for what they want or what they can do or what they can control. And so,
Sounds familiar.
you know, and it's really, you would almost think, and I think even naively to my point, is that, you know, being that we're in this condition and that we have like this window of opportunity to really transform and to, you know, have a fresh start, that everybody would want the same things, but it's not the case. So I've learned, and I've learned this from Mayor Butts, who's a great friend of mine, and he told me pretty recently that you have to deal with the opposition, because it's not that you don't want to have people that will contend with you or raise questions, but when people are solely out to block progress and to stop the agenda, you have to deal with that, because at the end of the day, you'll always be fighting instead of just using those efforts to move forward.
Okay, that's a pretty good lesson. How do you deal with negative press or harsh criticisms? Because no matter how much work you do or how hard you work, there's going to be somebody out there with something to say. So when you read negative things or being accused of negative things, how do you deal with that personally and professionally?
I think I'm really a facts-based person. I evaluate all criticism and feedback for what it is. If I believe that it's merited, then I definitely will apply it and make adjustments. If I don't, then I just keep moving. I keep my eye on the target, and I know
you have to address every single thing.
I let a lot of things pass, and you know, it keeps, there's, you know, we all have energies, and you know, when you have, if you're a positive person and a positive force, you have to feed into that, and you can't allow negativity to drag you off and to drain you. So I just keep it pushing.
That's right. Got to stay focused.
Yes.
More important things to deal with.
Yeah.
Do you feel that the perception of Compton has improved over the past 10 years, perhaps?
I do. I think that just as I go visit different places and I meet different people from different states, even different countries, people have a different perception of Compton than I think what their major reference point, which is the 90s and NWA. And most people always ask, you know, well, how is Compton now? Or we've seen the changes. And so I think it's definitely going in a positive direction.
And speaking of NWA and Compton, and because a lot of people probably had never heard of Compton
Yes.
until NWA came out with it. Compton does have a rich history of producing some of the world's greatest superstars. Now, do you feel that those people have an obligation to give back to the city of Compton?
I don't think that they have an obligation, but I do think that they have the opportunity to enrich the places that they've come from. My mother raised me that there's no person alive that has to do anything for anybody else. It's a privilege and an honor to have people to really sow into your life and to give back. So I do think that the people, you know, like NWA and people that have come from Compton, that they have done great things for the city, that they do a lot of things behind the radar without wanting a lot of fanfare, because they're doing it from their heart. So I've known
Easy was one of them, by the
Yes.
way. He did a lot for Compton.
Yes, and
That people don't know about.
a lot of people don't know about a lot of the things that they've done. Even Kendrick Lamar, he's done a lot in the city of Compton behind the radar. Dr. Dre has done a lot. YG has done a lot.
People, and I've seen YG at your rally and DJ Quick. A lot of people have really criticized Dr. Dre They feel like he's done nothing for Compton other than come up off of the name, so to speak. But you're sitting here today saying that Dre has contributed to the
he
city
has.
of Compton.
I know people firsthand that are doing work in the trenches that Dr. Dre has continued to support them for many years.
Okay.
Also, I've had the opportunity to work with him. We're going to be collaborating on building a youth performing arts center in the city of Compton.
That's what I heard. So I'm glad that's true.
Yeah, it's true. And we've presented 2 selections of sites that he can choose from. And so we're at the site selection phase, but we definitely are ready to move forward. And he's pledged a significant amount of seed money to help us fundraise additional funding. And his biggest thing, which I really respect, is that he doesn't want to just build something, but he wants to make sure that the doors stay open for years to come.
Yes, a
and
legacy.
So, to have that longevity and the legacy
Yes.
that he can be proud of. And to that point, he also pledged the royalties from his latest album, Compton, to be able to fund this performing arts center for years to come. So he's wanting to make a significant impact and really focusing on our young people, building a next generation, and then also not just looking at music or entertainment as our people being the talent, but really teaching our young people all the different careers behind the microphone. And so, all from production, engineering, sound, all those things that most times we're not necessarily introduced to first. So I think it's going to be transformative.
Well, hats off to Dre. Hats off to Dre. I had a youth program at the Grammy Museum that he supported.
Oh, wow.
So I think it's been in his mind and in his heart to do this center for a long time. Now, Compton is also known for gangs and violence, and according to your report, in 2015 there were only 13 reported homicides, which brings the homicide rate way down. And what do you attribute that to? I know that I also read that you started a program, Compton Empowered. And so what do you think is happening over in Compton and why the homicide rate is down?
Well, in the summer of 2014, we sat down and I had a meeting with many of the influential gang members in the city and just spoke with them. We all sat in a circle and I just asked them, what can we do to make our city safer? Not for me, not for them, but for our babies. And I recognize that many of them, it's been just a cycle of being a part of gangs. And many of the men, opened up and just said, if they could get out, they would, but this is not something that they want for their kids. And, just really with them having records and not having an opportunity to start over. And they really wanted to be a part of the solution. And I told them, I said, well, if we're going to be diligent and serious about bringing in more investment, we have to have a safer city because companies don't want to invest in a city that they consider unsafe. And we made a commitment to just work together. And I told them I can't do this overnight. I can't promise you it's going to change overnight, but this has to be something we build together because we're all family. We all live here. I don't want to see my brothers, killing each other. And when we look at the statistics, the majority of crime in Compton is black on black crime. And so we had a really committed core of men and women that have been in the trenches, working together, fighting, crying together. We start meeting every couple of weeks, and then we started meeting twice a week. So, and we're still meeting now. We have meetings twice a week just to be able to resolve conflicts, to give different, and they provided us with just some great insight as to which gangs are having conflict and really being able to try to diffuse things at the personal level. And I learned so much from them just about how violence really ensues. We assume that gang violence is because this gang member doesn't like this gang member, but the majority of the time is a personal relationship between, two people that may be gang affiliated, and then they resort to, the gangs coming in to intervene, and then it becomes a gang situation. So we've been able to just really work together, and we've seen some really positive results, but it's something that continues to take effort and work. And so even this year, we've had one homicide in the city so far. And so we're just praying that the violence continues to stay down, and we're preparing for the summer. We have our youth programs on deck. We're really looking at extending park hours and just really trying to keep our community safe because we can't keep the cycle. We can't keep it going. And so we're hoping that we can continue to work together And the core of it all for me is just love. If we can just love each other and treat each other as humans that we are, then I know that our city can be better.
Your heart is definitely in the right place, and like you mentioned, there's just so many people that don't have the best interest of the people, and it's just this refreshing thing. I always say, you know what, these millennials ain't half bad. I mean, we have a show here called Love Sessions, and there are young people in their 30s, and they talk about relationships, and their conversation is so healthy and refreshing that it's like, okay, y'all getting a bad rap sometimes, but
we all right.
Yes, and they're married, married young people, families, jobs. I'm like, okay.
That's awesome.
What are your future aspirations as a politician and a major bucket list item in your personal life?
In my personal life, definitely to have kids. My husband and I are looking forward to starting a family this year. So I really want to be a mother. I love babies and young people. So that's something personal that I like to do. Politically, I never planned to be a mayor. I can't plan my next move. I'm really focused on being the mayor of Compton. And who knows, I may be mayor for, many terms. And
how many terms can you be mayor in Compton?
It's unlimited. So.
Oh, wow. Well, I would hope that you move up to governor or even president of the United States one day.
God knows. God knows. Yes. I never say, I've learned to never say what I would never do with God, because he'll have you do that exact thing.
No limits.
Yeah,
yes,
so I'm open.
That's right. One final question is, give us some awesome things about Compton, because a lot of times, we hear the crime, we hear all the other things that are going on in Compton, but give us some awesome things about Compton.
Compton is such a special place. I've never been to any other community or met people from any other place where they have the same sense of community pride and love for Compton. Regardless of what people have said about Compton in the past, people from Compton know that it's really special. We produce great people. All the pressure just creates diamonds, and I think that all the camaraderie and just the sense of connection and family and community pride is just second to none. Also, we have just an amazing, I think our biggest asset are our people. But when I consider, most people think that it's really entertainment based, but we have so many people that have influenced all types of genres, from education, in the philanthropic world. We have people that are that are pilots and scientists and doctors and just all types of influential judges. And we have even 2 judges in the Compton courthouse that are from the city of Compton. So just the familial legacy and the pride. And most people that have settled in the LA area, but you came from the South, number one. You moved from the South, you came into Watts, and then you moved on up into Compton. So Compton was the place where middle-class families, upper-middle-class families can have their piece of the American dream. So there's such a historic legacy there, and I think that we have an opportunity to really pay that forward to the next generation, but it really relies on the older generation connecting with millennials and millennials connecting with that next generation, so that, number one, we can know who we are, where we've come from, and then also the responsibility that we have to not just get an education, move out the hood, and never come back, but to really come back with the education that has been invested in us to be able to lift our community for the next generation. So that's really always my message, and it touches my heart because I'm seeing so many young people moving back who've done just that, and they're committed, they're ready to work, and I think that that's really special because I haven't seen that other places.
What do you think? I know I said one more question, but now I'm thinking the Straight Outta Compton movie. Do you feel that had an impact on Compton?
I think that it did have an impact, definitely. I think it had people reconsider Compton or rethink where is Compton today, because the movie did a great job depicting Compton in that time frame. Mm-hmm. It was clear that it wasn't the Compton of today. So I think it definitely piqued the interest of people that had already been introduced to Compton from NWA 25 years ago, and then they said, well, kind of thought about it, well, where is Compton today? And so I think it really piqued interest for people to come and take another look at the city. For the people that live there, I think that and I kind of polled a lot of different people, different ages. And for those that have saw the movie, they felt a sense of pride because we were able to see the lives of these young men who overcame so much to be able to, and not just as a group, but individually, personally, and were able to really make something great of themselves. And even when we look at the individuals today, there's a whole generation that doesn't even associate Dr. Dre or Ice Cube with rappers. You know, to young people, Dr. Dre is, he's by Dre, he's a mogul, he's a billionaire. Yes. Ice Cube, he's, you know, this prolific actor that does family movies. And so there's like a whole different introduction and connotation with these individuals. So I think for one set of a population, to introduce the history side of where they came from to another group, it kind of is nostalgic because it took us back to where Compton was. And then also we were able to draw on that tenacity. And I felt like a sense of pride when I saw the movie because I'm like, you know what? They overcame so much and they made it. And so that same grit, that same tenacity, that same drive is really what fuels so many people in Compton today. So I think it had a positive impact.
Yeah, I think so. And it brought pride to people in other cities too, because they had that campaign straight out of wherever you were from.
Yes.
I wish you all the best.
Thank you.
I respect and appreciate where your heart is with the city, because the people that I know from Compton, they love Compton. It's like an awesome love that they have for their city that they represent. So good luck to you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for kicking it in the booth with the Poetess. And come back again.
I will. And I just have to say, I grew up listening to you on the radio. So this is like a true honor for me to be interviewed by you. So thank you.
Thank you. I told you I still get a little nervous, even though I've been doing this for a minute. But it's an honor. And I'm so glad you were able to come by and spend some time. And we'll talk to you next time.
Thank you. God bless.
You.
Bye-bye.
Thank you so much.